Let's talk defense and your takeaways from the defense, and then we will get into our key moments defensively for the team.
Vince, really the keys to defense, and we'll be a little bit quicker on this one because the biggest key on defense was they got back on track. Like, they didn't play bad last week. What I was trying to get people to understand was, I was explaining this to a friend. He's like, I'd probably say the blame's probably like 70-30 offense defense. And starts pushing back a little bit. He agreed that it was more on the offense and the defense wasn't perfect, but 70. And I said, but think about it. The first bad moment of the game the week before was not the offense. The first time the offense had the ball, they went right down the field and scored. The first time the special teams, the second time, the first time the special teams, the kickoff team was on the field, they pinned Northern Illinois at the 2.
Correct.
The game changed when the defense gave up an 83-yard touchdown pass. Okay, yeah, but they only gave up a couple field goals rest of the way. It was 13-7. Well, then the offense gives you a second half score. Now, the offense did jack the rest of the game. But after the offense threw the terrible pick, that's 100% of the offense, they're not even in midfield. They've got to get at least 2 first downs to be in field goal territory.
Yep.
You don't stop them. They take almost 5 minutes off the clock. And just the whole game, the defense was just, Benjamin Morrison's giving up completions. Your D tackles aren't doing anything. Jack Kaiser's playing passive. Like, outside of Xavier Watson, a couple sophomores, Jaden Osbury, Christian Gray, I don't know. I say Patel, Burnham. There was a handful of guys that played well, but as a whole, the defense wasn't its typical self. How are you going to respond to that? Well, they came out against Purdue, Vince, and we'll get into the start, but just overall, I thought they responded really well.
Agreed.
I did. And look, Purdue, the offense scoring helped the defense out, but Purdue crossed midfield once the entire game, and that was with the backups in the game, where Kennedy Urlacher, I went back and watched him in the All-22. It was hilarious. He looked like he was trying to tackle Jaden McKinney.
Yes. 100%.
It was hilarious. Like, he leaned into it and took him out.
Yes.
I don't know what he was thinking. Now, you live with it because he was really good after that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you're like, I can't even explain what this kid's thinking right now.
That's what I would say. I would love to just sit him down.
You were in my way to get to my guy, and you had to go.
You had to go.
What are you thinking, dude? But he was so good after that
I know.
You laugh at it now because of how good he was afterwards, and because you won by 59. But that's part of the lessons learned right now, Vince, is from these young guys. But that was the only time a blown play is the only reason you got past midfield. And there was a couple drives in the first half where they got the ball in pretty good field position because Notre Dame has major punting problems right now.
Don't even get me started.
They couldn't do anything with it. 3 and out. Think about this. They crossed midfield once the entire game, and it was on a blown play against your second team defense.
Well, and to your point, they started on the -43 on their second drive, okay? Because the punt was not good, right? So the -43, that's really good field position. You're 7 yards away from being on the side of the field that you want to be on. But then they held on the first play, a throwaway because they got pressure from Kaiser, a pass breakup at the line of scrimmage by Schuler, and then they have to punt, right? So 2 series later, defensively, they get the ball on the -38-yard line, get all the way up to the -44, and then they get sacked, right? So, your point is right on the money. They were giving Purdue great field position, which is why I mentioned the fact that if they can't figure out this whole punting situation, giving other teams the ball at that point on the field is going to bite them in the rear at some point, right? But Purdue had no answers against Notre Dame's defense in this particular game. So it didn't hurt them, right? Because the defense was just so good. It didn't matter where Purdue got the ball on the field. It didn't matter. They dominated. The 3 and outs were just like consecutive for this defense. So, because
there wasn't anything from this game, Vince, where you look and say, the defense made this adjustment schematically or that adjustment. They always have wrinkles that are geared towards stopping the specifics of the opponent, but it was the same basic game plan they've had in the past.
Yeah.
No, that's wrong. It was the philosophy, the structure of who they are from week to week didn't change. They didn't do anything dramatically overreactive from a scheme saying we struggled to stop the run in this regard. No, what they did was we struggled to stop the run. let's play better.
Right.
Let's be more forceful on the edge. Let's
Right.
compete more up the middle. And early on, the D tackles weren't playing great. They buckled down. You had Jason Onye playing a phenomenal game. They did some adjustments with Kurt Heinisch or Donovan Heinisch in this game where they let him attack more. But overall, it was still a very similar, this is who they are on defense. It's just, it was executed better. So kudos to the coach for working out some of the mistakes from the previous week. Great job there. But I thought the players came out and played with a little bit of pride. P&V in this game. You know what I mean? We're like, hey, they were mad at themselves from what they did the week before. So come out and execute and play at a high level and take it out on Purdue. And like one of the big plays to me was like where I knew that this isn't a big moment, but where I knew this defense was going to be good. They ran, I think it was a second drive, Vince, where they complete that third down pass, but it's way short of the first down. It's on a pressure. Do you remember that? They actually ran a pretty decent. No, it was a third drive.
No, the first drive they completed the first drive third down where Clark had really good coverage.
First drive, okay,
went from 3rd and 8 to 4th and 4.
They actually ran a pretty decent concept where they ran. I think it was 2 and 3 both worked out, and they brought number 1 underneath of them. And Jordan Clark planted and drove and split 2 Purdue receivers and didn't get touched and drove on that route. That was actually a good call. It required perfection from a read and driving the ball standpoint, and Jordan Clark did it. And as soon as the guy caught the ball, he takes him down. No chance.
Right.
And I was like, okay, this defense came to play.
Yes.
They ran a good scheme. Notre Dame read it perfectly, drove on it, made the stop. Boom. The pressure got there. Okay, this team came to play. Started off a little rough, finished really well. And that's you needed to see that.
No doubt about it. So let's talk about some of our key moments defensively, because I mean, our takeaways are pretty obvious for defense. So let's talk about some of our key moments in this game. Let's start with the first drive, and we were just talking about it, so it's a great transition. They answered Notre Dame's offensive score because, again, this kind of mirrored last week, right? Offense goes down and scores. Defense gets an opportunity. They give up a big play. They allow the other team to score. This time around, offense goes down and scores. Defense gets an opportunity. They give up a big play on 2nd down.
And what are you thinking? When Benjamin Morrison got beat on that slant route.
And he looked bad. Like that was, he got beat bad. I mean, he
overplayed the outside move. Guy shoved him. Not shoved him, but that's how you teach it.
Yes.
100%. And Benjamin, it looked like a lot like the route Bo Collins did on him last year against Clemson.
Yeah, absolutely.
And 18-yard gain. And what went through your head, Vince?
I was like, here we go again. Second downs. Second downs. Here we go. And then they went 3 and out after that. And so they answered emphatically.
Didn't threaten Notre Dame.
Exactly.
Didn't threaten Notre Dame after that.
100%. They emphatically shut them down from that point forward.
Yeah. You had the next big play for me, Vince, was the start of the next drive. I would actually argue it was 2 plays later that they started to shut them down. Second play of the next drive, they run a mesh. The tight end climbs, and there's a miscommunication between Kaiser and Kingston. Kaiser stops and thinks that he's passing off to Kingston. Kingston keeps running, and Kaiser, like, I don't know who was wrong, but basically Kingston gets confused, stops, and then keeps running, and the guy beats him across the field for a big gain, and they look back and they're like, what the heck? Like, if they were going to pass off, Jack needed to see the guy coming the other way and peel. He didn't do it. And so I think both tight ends kind of were open on it, but there was and they complete it for a first down, but it comes back from a hold. Why did it come back? So you're thinking like, dude, that's not a big moment. Yeah, it was a big moment because it got called for a holding because Jordan Patojo came off the line like a crazy person, like just like
in
man possessed.
Yeah.
Splits a double team. I mean, you could just see him fighting like his life depended on it. And when he splits that double team, the guard panics and reaches out and holds him. And then the quarterback kind of does a half scramble, throws the ball over the top, hits the guy. If he doesn't play that hard with that kind of motor on that play, Purdue now has first down at what would that have been? That'd have been first down.
No, they started at the 43.
They started their own 43, Vince. Yeah. That would have got him in Notre Dame territory.
100%. Yes.
and it's 7-0
for the first time of the game.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's only their second drive.
True.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, but that high motor play puts them in 1st and 20. And at that point in time, they were done on that drive, and they never threatened Notre Dame again when the game was in doubt.
Yep.
I thought that showed me something, because like, you need your D-line to step up and make plays. And so it's not always sacks that are those big plays. It's setting the edge. It's doing things like this where I'm fighting so hard to beat this double team, because that's my job on this play.
Yep.
That I forced this guy to hold me, or he, because if he didn't hold him, he would have got to the quarterback. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
exactly.
And that type of motor play, he could have just like, oh, they're double teaming me. I'll just contain, make sure the quarterback doesn't scramble. No, he's like, I'm getting to the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And the hold results in that play being 1st and 20. And that's when I felt like now Purdue was toast.
Right.
Because that's the time Notre Dame needed that. They make that drive stalls, right? So it's 1st and 20. They do a little quick 5-yard run for 5 yards. Then it's incomplete pass. Kaiser with a really nice pressure. And then I think the next play, Don Schuler comes down when he scrambles out and breaks the pass up. They punt. Notre Dame goes down the field in that long drive we just broke down and goes up 14-0. At that point in time, for all intents and purposes, it was game over, because you gave that Notre Dame defense a 2-touchdown lead. And they could just pin their ears back, and Purdue was done at that point in time.
Right.
And so I thought that's the stuff you need. That high effort, high motor play can sometimes result in something that could potentially be bad, turned into something really good. I thought that was a really big moment of the game.
Right. Completely agree. Okay. Last little moment we want to talk about is the big moment really for the defense, and that was Boubacar Traore's pick 6. So let's break this thing down, Bryan, and what you saw on film and how this thing transpired and all that. I've got it pulled up. I'm actually watching it right now.
So it was interesting. So it's obviously I'm trying to see what was the clock. There was 1:55, less than 2 minutes on the clock. They're at the 39-yard line. So Purdue's out in a 2-by-2 alignment, tight ends into the boundary. Boubacar is coming off the edge. He is going to rush the quarterback. However, he has dual responsibilities. You are rushing unless you see that running back free release, then you got to peel. So Boubacar recognizes the free release by the back, and he steps outside, and he stays on that guy, takes away that potential swing. You had a really good pressure from, I'm trying to see who this was. Was that Kaiser that brought? Yeah, it was Kaiser. Comes from a long pressure. Riley Mills and Howard Cross have one of their best snaps of the game. Howard gets out to the B gap. Riley comes out right behind him. Howard forces the guy out of the pocket, and Boubacar is right there. Riley Mills, looking back at the play, Vince, I don't think he threw the ball.
No, it was weird. He switched the ball from his right to his left hand.
Yeah.
But then he just didn't grip it well enough.
I wonder because Riley Mills was coming from behind him, and I think as Riley hit him, the ball comes out of his hand. It didn't look like he was straight. Like if you go back and look at from the tight, it doesn't look like he goes like this.
Right, I agree.
It looks like he's running, and the ball gets knocked out of his hand, and Boubacar's there to pick it up.
Because he moved it from his right to his left hand because of the pressure, right? And he didn't want it to get knocked out of his hand.
Right.
The problem was he got hit with such force by Mills.
Right, because it looked like he was going like this.
Yeah.
Right. And then Riley hit him, and the ball comes out. Boubacar's right there. So Boubacar reading for great pressure by Riley Mills and Howard Cross. One of the few good plays they did all game. So that was good to see. You have a really nice pressure. Jack Kaiser comes screaming in on a delayed blitz, but Boubacar recognizing, hey, I've got a peel if that guy free releases, puts him in position to make that play. And then also, you had Jaden Alsbury also recognizing that play. He sees a snag route. He undercuts the snag route as that guy goes. And so Jaden also took away a potential route and was right there too. So just an incredibly well-executed play, Vince, where the two big moments for me that I talked about were both high-effort plays. And when this defense plays with high effort, it's really hard to beat. And that's what I want to see more of from Mills and Cross. They need to be doing stuff like that all the time, not just flashing here and there. And I thought that was a really, it wasn't, oh, what a great play design. Oh, Al Golden had them confused. It was, we're going to cover all your guys, and then our front four is going to get to the quarterback. And that was the other thing too, is this the first time all season we've seen the front four start to put pressure on the quarterback with just the front four.
Without any extra. Yeah. Right.
That was huge.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it wasn't necessarily a turning point in the game, like we're going to be doing in different times throughout the season, right? It wasn't a turning point. It was already 28-0. It made it 35-0. The game was, for all intents and purposes, the game was over as far as who's going to win, who's going to lose. So
but they didn't back off.
Bingo. And that is the point that I was going to make. I mean, that it is.
This is why I got to mute myself more because I
keep
thinking you're stealing your thunder.
We are on the same page, Brian, because it showed the defense wasn't quitting, right? The defense was still going to come after. They were still going to play their game. They were still going to do what they do. And it resulted in a pick six, essentially, or a fumble six, or however you want to say it, right? I think it goes down as an interception because it never hit the ground. But, I mean, that's how you do it. Everybody did their job, and they were in position to make a play. And, I mean, when the defense plays the way they did on Saturday, there's not many teams in this country that are going to be able to do anything to them.
No.
So, and I don't want to speak in absolutes.
And there's still a lot they can clean up from Saturday.
Of course, yes.
I think one of my takeaways from the game is my wife just texted me, says, geez, stop taking away talking over Vince and interrupting him because
he's on my side.
I told her she needs to I told her, it's like, you're being mean to Vince. So she's got your back there on that one. The thing for me too, Vince, is I felt like the linebackers are still a work in progress.
Sure.
Kingston's still a work in progress. There were several plays. Like, again, people focus on the flashy plays. There's a couple plays I'm like, you got to be in better position there. Drake was solid, not special, not just solid, crashing down and doing his thing. Jaden was solid. None of the linebackers were great. But you know what I thought? And what I saw in this game was you're starting to see them figure it out. This was the best game Jack Kaiser's had so far. He played way faster and way harder than he has in the first two games. Because in reality, yes, Jack Kaiser's a 6-year senior, but we talked about in the preseason, he's also a 6-year senior who has not played this position really.
Right.
He's at a new position. When he started the last 2 years, when he started somewhere other than Rover, it was at Mike, not Will.
Right.
He's still figuring it out. Well, Saturday he played some of the delayed blitzes came too late or from too far, and there's still a lot of things to clean up, but you're starting to see this linebacking core as a whole starting to figure it out a little bit and get better and better and better. And that was a takeaway for me too. And that play was, sort of an example of that, but you're starting to see this. But when the D line starts being more aggressive and more forceful, like you said earlier, that's when you're going to see this linebacking core really take off. But you can see it. They're starting to, even Drake didn't make a ton of plays, but he was playing a little bit more forced, crashing down and taking on blocks. There was a play where he gets blocked down, but if you go back and look at the play, he's forcing that guy to block him and turn his shoulders because he knows he's got somebody else fitting out right behind him. So some people look at, well, he got blocked down. Yeah, exactly. He wanted to get that guy to turn in. He's got that gap, and if they bounce that sucker out, he's got that safety filling right behind him. You're starting to see more of that from this linebacking core.
Right.
But when the D line can occupy blockers and this group can get downhill, it's like there was one play where one of the D linemen got a pressure, but it's because he was engaged and Jaden Alsbrick came down and didn't have a hole to get through on a blitz. So he just runs into that offensive lineman and smashes him, which causes that guy to lose the defensive lineman. And the guy loops around and pressures the quarterback. You're just like, he was like, I'm hitting somebody.
Yeah, right.
Like somebody's getting hit on this play. Like, I mean, it was great, Vince. So that was obviously a big part of it as well. So
no doubt,
just seeing the defense get back on track, Vince.
Yep.
We do agree. I know we do have a couple super chats, but I mean, right. End of the day, the key takeaway from the defense, they look like they're supposed to look.
Correct. They didn't look that way last week.
Right.
They didn't look that. Look, this is a good enough team where one side of the ball cannot be really up to par and they should still win games. The problem was last week, both sides were not up to par.
Right.
It was just
all three.
Yep. All three. Thank you. It was just a confluence of nobody picked anybody else up.
Nobody played well enough to win on last week.
Right. Absolutely. And they deserved to lose.
16 points should have been good enough to beat Northern Illinois. It is, but you shouldn't have given up 16 points to Northern Illinois.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
You shouldn't only score 14. Like every part of your team factored into that one.
Right. Completely agree.
Do you want to finish up with some super chats, Vince?
Let's hit them. Michael S., thanks for the super chat. Objectively, where's Purdue as a competitive measuring stick?
Andrew Gilmore asked this earlier in the chat, and it's a good question because I don't know.
Right.
Look, I thought Purdue finished the year last year pretty well. Talk this offseason. I really like some of the transfers they got in. And, I watched this team kind of win 2 of their last 3, beat Minnesota, beat Indiana, only lost by 8 at Northwestern, who was an 8-win team last year.
Yeah,
You come out in your opener against Indiana State. Yeah, they're not very good, but you dominated Indiana State. And I'm like, there's some players I like. There's some good football players in this football team. And Notre Dame comes out and just runs them off the field. I mean, just completely runs them off the field. And you're just like, they made that team look awful. People are like, they may not win another game. And I'm like, that's how bad Notre Dame beat them. But it also makes it hard to know who they are. They beat a bad FCS team 49-0 and then get annihilated. Think about this. They've played 2 games. One of their games they won by 49, and they're -10 in scoring on the season. That's how bad Notre Dame beat them. You know what I mean? So it's honestly, I don't know. Right. I don't know what this win means for Notre Dame because I don't know as far as like from the structure of how good is Purdue. I don't know. But here's what I'll say to you.
Yeah.
I don't care what Power 5 team you're playing. I don't care if you're playing Vanderbilt, if you're playing the worst Power 5 team. When you beat a team 66-7 on their field and they're a Power 5 opponent, you were excellent. There's nobody that bad where you don't play really, really well. Now, if you play this well against Louisville, are you going to win by 59? No. Louisville's a much better team, but is it going to be competitive? Probably not. And that's the point. So in that regard, that's what we always say, Vince. It's not about the opponent. It's about Notre Dame.
Correct.
And when they play their game, it doesn't matter who they play. For the next 9 games, it literally doesn't matter who they play. If they play their game, they'll win. Now, some games may be they may play their game and beat USC, and it's close and competitive, of course. Same with Louisville. But if they play their game like they on both sides of the ball, like they did on Saturday, I don't know that anyone else beats them. The question is, can they do that week to week?
Right, and that's
what they haven't proven at Notre Dame. Right,
completely agree.
So it sounds all sunshine and rainbows, but it's but.
Right, absolutely.
We've seen this, not to this. I mean, we haven't seen them play like this before. Like, I don't know that any of the blowouts last year looked like they were like this.
Right.
I mean, this was just, it could have been, they could have hung 80 on them if they wanted to. I mean, literally, this was even more embarrassing than the Pitt game. Cause like Pitt actually picked them off a couple times in the first half and you needed Tyrese punt return to get going. Like this was an annihilation from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care who the opponent is. That's impressive.
Right. Michael S., thanks for the super chat. Where's Colsey?
He played on Saturday. Actually had a nice win on a go route. They just didn't look at him, but like he's just not ahead of other guys right now.
Yeah.
I mean, your 2 boundary guys are Bo Collins and Jaden Thomas. They're both playing pretty well.
Right.
So you just
got passed up. Michael S., thanks for another super chat. Every year we expect senior D-line, a.k.a. Adamiolas, Foskey to outperform prior year and are disappointed. Is that continuing with Mills and Cross?
So far, yeah.
It's early,
but but so far, that's fair. I mean, Foskey was not as good as he needed to be, but he still had 14 tackles for loss and 11 sacks. I'll take that kind of disappointing season from Howard Cross and Riley Mills. But yes, that so far. But flip side, we were getting a much better senior year from Jordan Patelho before he got hurt. We're getting a great senior year from Jason Onye.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be getting Gabriel Rubio back at some point in time over the next month or 2. So that's obviously important.
Another one from Michael S. Thanks, Michael, who has a tougher time with success. Notre Dame players or coaches?
Both. Yeah. I mean, when games like last week happen, it's not on the coaches. It's not on the players.
All the above.
Exactly.
I mean, I even blame the nutritionist. Like it's the whole part. It's the whole program. Like that was a problem. You know, It was the whole deal. Everybody's got a piece of the blame. No doubt. Michael S., thanks for another super chat. Is Riley Leonard's running sustainable for a whole season?
Yeah, I mean, he had 8 designed carries on Saturday. I mean, there's going to be games where I hope that they don't need him to run that much against Miami of Ohio.
Sure.
Against, some of the other teams on the schedule. But, I mean, that's what you brought him in for. I mean, he's had games with 20 carries at Duke. I mean, this is
how you get the offense going.
There's always the risk of a guy like that being injured. It is. I'm concerned about can he, with the, depending on what the severity of his shoulder, we still don't know. We know what reports are. Notre Dame didn't tell us a thing.
Right. And he was dropping his shoulder and getting hit. And,
right.
I mean,
now, cortisone shots are a beautiful thing. Right?
You're not wrong.
But eventually, even the cortisone shot can't keep that pain away. I mean, like was talking to my dad about this. Like, my mom had double knee replacement surgery, and the cortisone shots helped her. But over time, like, your body builds up a little bit of a tolerance for it. You know what I mean? And it doesn't quite work the same. So we'll see. I don't know. You never know when the guy's runs that much, but I mean, that's what he's done. I mean, he ran for 699 yards at Duke in his first year as a starter. So, well, he got hurt last year. He got hurt last year on a pass play.
Right.
He got rolled up on a pass play. It wasn't a run play. So, and you can also
can't coach like you're afraid of getting somebody hurt.
Right. I thought he made some good go down, get out of bounds decisions on Saturday.
Agreed.
But look, I don't know. I mean, it was sustainable for him in 2022. He wasn't able to stay healthy in 2023. How banged up is he now? We really don't know. So I don't know. I hope that eventually, but here's the thing. This is why the pass game does need to get going, because, if he can improve a little bit as an overall thrower, then maybe some of the stuff he won't need to do as much, or he'll have bigger windows to run if teams have to start playing, off the box more.
William Chesney, thanks for the super chat. BD, I was one of the negative Nancys on Saturday in the post-game show. Just wanted to apologize for that. I can't believe I was frustrated with a 60-point win because of nitpicking the passing attack. I
do get it, William. I do.
That's
emotional. How bad last week's game was. It is. And I mean, I had these conversations where friends of mine who were not negative people, it just pissed me off even more to watch them do that a week after. I was talking to one of the guys in the press box, and I was like, we've literally seen 3 different Notre Dame teams in these 3 games. Like, we saw a pretty good top 10 team against Texas A&M, top 10 to 15 team against A&M. We saw I don't even know if they're top 50 team last week against Northern Illinois. And Saturday, we saw a team that can kind of play with anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what's the real Notre Dame? I don't know. I know what I hope it is.
Yeah.
I hope it's somewhere you're always going to be between A&M and Purdue. You're never going to always be what you were against Purdue. That's not possible. Even LSU in 2019 wasn't always that. They beat Auburn one week, scoring 23 points. You know what I mean? Like, it's just part of the deal. The team that probably came closest to beating them that year was a Texas team that won 7 or 8 games. Remember that great duel at the beginning of the year with Sam Ehlinger and Joe Burrow? So, I do get it. And my whole thing is, and this is what some people, I'm not saying it's not okay that you don't have some questions about, okay, yeah, this was pretty good, but Purdue's not Georgia. That's a fine conversation to have. But when you come into a chat and it's just only focusing on the negative and only,
right.
Like, here's I was having a conversation with somebody earlier today, and it's like, you're literally in the same conversation criticizing Riley Leonard for missing throws and telling me Steve Angeli should start, when I could literally show you 2 snaps on Saturday where Steve Angeli missed that same throw worse. Once he didn't throw it, and the other time he threw it, and it wasn't even close.
Can I request that breakdown on the board for tomorrow?
It's the go ball that he threw to KK Smith.
Yeah.
Where KK's got the guy beat by 2 steps, and he decides to throw a back shoulder pass for some reason, and it's not even close. And then the other one was, he misses Jadarian Price on that little check down. Did you not see Steve miss the check down to Jeremiah Love? Like, it happens. I'm not saying Steve sucks, because that's part of playing football. But when you are going to ignore this guy's mistakes to hammer this guy and try to tell me to take away from how well Riley Leonard played, well, he didn't throw any passing touchdowns, as if 3 rushing touchdowns in 1/2 of football is not enough. Think about this. The kid was on pace for 424 yards of offense and 6 touchdowns. And I got people telling me he shouldn't have been co-player of the game with Jeremiah Love. Because you're still mad about last week. Like, you can still be mad about last week. His performance Saturday is not the end-all be-all, and it doesn't erase last weekend. But you can still look at it and say, hey, but I like what he's doing now. Yes, he needs to get better, but I like what he's doing now. Now let's see if it's sustainable. There's a conversation to be had about how Riley's got to play better. And Riley's got to improve here and improve there. And everyone will tell you that, including Riley Leonard. But it doesn't mean you still say, he sucked, he's no good, he needs to be benched, and not give him praise for what he did on Saturday. Right? Like, he was him and Love were the 2 best players on the offense on Saturday. It's no question. That doesn't mean he's going to be the best player next week or was the best player last week. It just means on Saturday, he played really well. Can he play better? Yeah, he needs to. And he can. But that was my frustration, William, was that we can have and this is what we do at Irish Breakdown. We talk about the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
But when you just come in, this guy sucks, he needs to be benched, he's terrible, and this guy's great, even though this guy made the same mistakes that guy did, but this guy can't avoid a sack to save his life.
It's not productive.
Right? Like now you've put us in a situation where we got to tear down Steve to because you've got this like here's the like this. Well, you guys have this view of Riley Leonard that no, I know exactly who Riley Leonard is. You don't actually know who Steve Angeli is. Like that's the problem. It's the typical backup quarterback syndrome. We can point to and have the good and the bad of Riley Leonard. But when you're going to ignore the bad of another guy because you're upset about this and say this guy sucks and needs to be benched despite the fact he dominated the team he's about to play. Well, his runs weren't even that impressive. Okay, now I know you're not being serious. I'm not saying William said that, but I've literally heard his runs weren't even that impressive. Okay, now I know you're not being serious at this point in time. Like if so that little 34-yard touchdown run wasn't impressive. Well, okay, now I just know you're still being emotional.
You're just being a hater.
But I do, William, understand the dichotomy of how we felt on Saturday because I felt it, Vince felt it, Sean Davis felt it, Trevor felt it, Ryan we all felt like, man, where was some of this last week? You know what I mean? Like I get it. But it still doesn't take away from what we saw on Saturday. And that's my whole point is we can talk about both. The problem is some people were just jumping in and not want to talk about it, but kind of be hateful about it. Mm-hmm. And not even be willing to see that he wasn't great. He wasn't like, oh my God, Heisman Trophy caliber performance. Nobody said it was, but he also wasn't what you're saying he was. You're acting like he was trash. Didn't even do anything special. Oh, okay. I think 100 yards rushing in the first half is 3 touchdowns, pretty darn good. And rushing yards and rushing touchdowns count the exact same as passing yards and passing touchdowns.
Right.
That was my frustration.
Touchdowns responsible for.
Yeah. And somebody said, is Chris Mitchell hurt? Chris Mitchell played quite a bit on Saturday.
Right. Tyler Evans, thanks for the super chat. I guarantee Christian Gray will have a pick 6.
He's almost had 3 already.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
I'm going to have to text his mom and be like, who taught your son how to catch? Jokingly, because we actually saw him play receiver in high school. He actually can catch pretty well. It's just he breaks on the ball so well.
Yeah.
That you think he's in better position to catch the ball than he actually is.
Right.
He's really good. Their corners are really like Benjamin got beat on that early throw. But outside of that, he was pretty good.
The rest of the way, no.
I mean, even that first play of the game, it was Benjamin that forced that. What was the knock on him? He's not good against the run. He's the guy that came up and kind of blew that play up inside and stuffed the run. Outside of that one play, I thought Benjamin was pretty good in that game, Vince. I don't know, kind of how you felt about it, but yeah, I mean, he gave up that one catch early, but he was pretty darn sticky in coverage after that, man. He really was. He really was.
Han Solo, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. Shout out to Freeman for not taking his foot off the gas. He coached like Bowden, where if you can't stop my backups, we're going to keep scoring.
Yeah, Bobby Bowden used to get hammered for this all the time. Running the score up. He's like, look, I put my backups in the game. What do you want me just like? And here's the thing for me, like that first series they had the backups in, Purdue had 11 in the box. Don't get mad at me. You left your starters in.
The whole game.
Like almost. I mean, there's a couple they took out here and there, but a lot of their starters played that like almost the whole game. Hudson Card played the whole game, I believe. So you got your starters in. You're going to put 11 in the box. Then what am I going to do? Have my guys just run into a crowded box? No. I'm going to put Steve Angeli in the game and let him run the offense. We weren't running reverses. That's what I would say. If we're not running reverses. We're not running, we're not doing trick plays. Like, look, we're running our offense. It's your job to stop it. I can't stand coaches that, like Tennessee going for an onside kick up 35-0 in the first half. Come on, guys.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Notre Dame didn't do that. They kept running their offense, and you couldn't stop it. They put their third quarterback in the game, ran their offense. You couldn't stop it. And if they would have let C.J. Carr run a couple more plays instead of taking a knee, they're about to score on that drive too. So and I'll bet you if they'd have put Anthony Rizak in the game, he probably would have ripped off a couple runs. That's an athletic kid. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, right. That's not a shot at it. I'm just being serious. It's Nebraska's 8th player of the year last year. So you didn't stop anything and you kept your starters in the game. So I was very happy to see it. Very happy to see Coach Freeman still getting it. I mean, again, not running trick plays. They kicked the field goal. I thought he was going to go for it because a lot of teams have that mentality. We're up 49-0. We're not going to kick a field goal and run it up. We're just going to keep running our offense. I thought that's what he was going to do. which I think that's kind of running up the score. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't normally just do what you normally would do. And then normally in this fourth down, we'd kick a field goal. So we kick a field goal.
That's what he did. Yeah.
And it's your job to stop us. So I was very happy that Marcus Freeman kept his foot on the gas. Because again, what did we always say, Han, about why we had an issue with that with Kelly? Because it's a mentality. Once you get a lead, back off. And how many times do we see Notre Dame get up 14, 17 points and then blow it and let that team back in the game? Saw it against Northwestern, saw it against Florida State in 2021. Remember, they went up 38-24, then took their foot off the gas, and Florida State came back and tied the ball game. It's a mentality to say, when we're out here, we're competing for 60 minutes. And it was especially important after last week. Absolutely. This is from the president, Vince.
410 JP, just saying hello. Go Irish.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I do now.
Yeah.
What's up, Prez? Appreciate you. Thanks for your leadership.
Yeah.
I do. I know exactly what you're
He's
talking
still
about.
waiting on that jersey.
Yeah, that's right. I really want to be a fan
Always
of that
great
team.
to see you in the chat. Always great to see you in the chat.
That's fantastic. Dennis Stockton, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you very much. Kennedy Urlacher made a textbook tackle with the hat on the ball.
He made several teaching tape hits on Saturday. Like no doubt. One play, I think they ran like a swing pass, and he just, Vince, if you saw it on the he was not that close to the line of scrimmage.
No,
he was actually pretty far back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, who is that kid? And Luke Talich had a couple plays like you're just like, dude, this is their third string safeties, and they are flying to the ball against Purdue starters and blowing them up for short gains, or no gains. Like that was fun to watch. That was really fun to watch.
Chris Allen, thanks for the super chat. Coach D needs a BS whistle. LOL. Like and subscribe.
Thank you, Chris. That would actually be really funny. It would get super annoying really fast, but it would be fun to do.
We have a silent BS whistle. It's called the timeout button.
Yes. Yes. Very true.
It's like a dog whistle. Can't hear it, but you can see the reaction. Andy Milton fan, thanks for the super chat. Did we get Avengers Endgame version of Thor?
That's messed up. Do you get that?
Yes, I get it.
Look, I don't know what's going on. Vince never saw him, and Sean Davis and I are watching this kid in fall camp in the first day of practice, and he's booming the heck out of the ball, just catching it, drop. And then since he's been here in games, they're having him do that rugby crap. I know he had a couple normal ones, but it's like once you start doing that all the time, like that's clearly not something he's comfortable with.
Right.
As a regular punt. Like I get it when you're like, maybe your own 45 but they're doing it like deep. I don't understand, man. It really does make no sense. I don't get what they're doing. I've seen this kid, Vince. I told you that like 4.5+ second hang. Now maybe he's just not good in games, but like you're not letting him use the technique that we saw him use to kick those balls. You're doing this rugby stuff. And I don't get it.
Makes no sense to me. I mean, maybe he's not a gamer, but in my opinion, we don't know that until he's allowed to at least do what he did to get recruited by Notre Dame. Do what he did to get you to fly over to Australia, watch him boom some punts, and then offer him a scholarship.
I mean, you could literally have anyone on your roster do the stuff you're asking him to. You didn't need that. I'm talking walk-ons.
Yes.
You didn't need to go give a scholarship to a kid from Australia who can boom the heck out of the ball to have him do this. So
listen, I am upset at this point because they brought in a guy that they're just asking him to kick 35-yard punts.
Yeah.
Like that's not what you bring a guy in for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And he's not good at it.
Come on.
So, yeah. Last one, Vince.
Kenny Moore. Let's get Driscoll a coach's hat. Go Irish.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I got back in coaching in 12 and 13 and quickly remembered why I got out of coaching. It's a lot of stuff. I just like, you know what? I love game day. I love the relationships with the players.
Yeah.
I don't love being gone for 3 months and not seeing my wife because I'm on the road recruiting.
Yeah.
I don't miss you moving up in coaching is a combination of your talent plus you got to kiss some major booty. That was not my style. And it was like, I loved what I was doing. If I, covering the team and stuff like that. And it was just like, you know, and my wife Angela was a great coach's wife, but it was a sacrifice that she didn't sign up for. Vince, like, you know, like
Right.
when you and your wife met, she always kind of knew you wanted to, you know, get into coaching. You guys met young, and that was always your dream. And when you get married, when you meet as young as you guys did, you always kind of know there's going to be some changes when we get older, and you know. But like my wife didn't think she was marrying a coach, and she was great at it, but it was hard. And I'll be honest with you, completely honest, I was not a very good husband as a coach because I was so focused on that career that I didn't prioritize being a husband above being a coach. And I don't know that I have it in me to do that. And so it was time to say, hey, you know, God challenged me to say, hey, look, what's more important to you, being a husband or being a coach?
All right.
And it was being a husband, because some people can do both. Some people can do both. I can't. And so, yeah, I appreciate you.
Oh yeah, and to your point, the reason I never got into big time coaching is because of my family. I didn't want to have to uproot them every however many years and all that. I made a family decision. You know, I would love to be like a player personnel or a coach or something. Like that would be so much fun. But it's
and I worked for a guy, Vince, at Muhlenberg College, Mike Donnelly. He's passed away since then, but you know, he was DC at Columbia when Marcellus Wiley was there. He decided to come be a Division III head coach because he wanted to be able to go to his kids' plays and you know, be a dad, and
100%.
And he could do it. I couldn't do it. Even at that level, I couldn't do that. I was, you know,
locked in.
Yeah. And not locked in because he was too. It was more obsessed.
But yeah, no, I get it.
I couldn't prioritize.
I get it. I know you're explaining it to other people, but
and so I was single most of my coaching career. But when I got back in later, I was then married and just realized I was not.
Yeah,
I was not able to manage both effectively.
Yeah,
and I wasn't able to not bring home work. You know, we'd be sitting there having dinner, and I'd have a recruit texter call, and I'd step away from the dinner table to talk to the recruit.
Yeah,
like just yeah. So So we did have one more pop up, Vince.
Oh, we did. Little guy 131. Thanks for the super chat. Sorry for the late post. In other special teams news, Notre Dame was so close to blocking 3 punts in the first half. They definitely saw something because they got it from both sides.
They're going to get one. Yeah. Logan Thomas almost had one.
Yeah. And they've got some super athletic dudes trying to block punts, man. Like
they do.
They're going to get one or more, you know, at some point. There's no doubt about it. So yeah, that was fun to see. That was absolutely fun to see. All right, well, that is going to do it for this edition of Upon Further Review. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. Really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell. Share with your family and friends. You can leave us a 5-star review if you want on the podcast side. That'd be cool. They'll also make sure you jump on the boards.irishbreakdown.com right there along the bottom. There's going to be some film breakdowns tomorrow on the boards. That's what Bryan is going to spend his time doing. The next time that we have a podcast / YouTube live will be tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Sean Stiers and myself will be coming right at you with IB Nation Sports Talk, and we'll be breaking down Marcus Freeman's press conference. And I'm sure there's going to be news given to us at that point that we can talk about.
We'll put that injury stuff on the board now.
But if you are a member of the board, you're going to get some insight earlier on than the people that aren't. So make sure you go and check that out. So for Bryan, I'm Vince. And we will talk to you next time on Upon Further Review and the Irish Breakdown Podcast. Have a wonderful Sunday, everybody.